So for this Sandbox episode, we're excited to talk to an incredibly talented duo that we know and love from our Slack channel. They put together awesome work. It's always cute. It's always adorable. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the talented duo, illustrators and co-founders of Pretend Friends, Anna and Daniel Clark, to the show.
Hooray! Right. Hello.
What's up?
So Anna, Daniel, do you now know why we start every episode by clapping? Because we've made it through the intro. That's all there is to it. That's all that it takes. So we are so excited that you guys have joined us on the show. Like I said in the intro, you are very active participants in the Slack channel. You're always posting work you're doing, you're commenting, and you're actively participating in that. But on top of that, you guys are super talented. But tell everybody who you are. Give us the Wikipedia page about the Clarks.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So we are two halves of a creative duo, I guess you'd say. We met in college and then got engaged pretty soon after that. And then right out of college, both had design jobs, separate design jobs, and started pretty much doing freelancing right off the bat outside of school. Cut to a couple years later, we had some kids, so I got out of the workforce to stay home with the children and continued to freelance. And Daniel still works for an agency. So we were kind of doing separate things for a while, and then somewhat recently decided to kind of join forces and start doing some illustration stuff together.
Yeah, so we've been doing that for probably 4 or 5 months now.
Yeah, so it's relatively
recent. I didn't realize that recent.
Yeah.
So prior to that, though, you guys were both doing your own thing, your own gig. And when I first got introduced to your work, it was you, Daniel. When we were doing the, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was that Disney art challenge that we did with Jared Mariyama like a year ago. And you entered in with your submission, and then we saw another submission and we loved it, and it was Anna's. It was your piece. And you guys are both big Disney fans, which is what initially drew me to your work. So talk to us a little bit about that. Why Disney?
I mean, that's so like when we met in college, we kind of bonded over Disney in the first place. So, I mean, I grew up going there and you grew up going there, and we always loved it. But then once I started getting more into design, and illustration, I was returning back to the Disney stuff to get a lot more inspiration. And then through that, we kind of just bonded over Mary Blair and Disney World. And, it's just, we both really love whimsical, magical stuff, and that's exactly how you would define Disney. So I think that was just a starting point for both of us.
Yeah, definitely. It was something that I went, as a child, but there was a long span of my life where I didn't go. And then when I was probably in my early 20s, I went again and just kind of fell in love with it all over again. So we go probably 2 to 3 times a year if we can.
Yeah.
You guys are based out of where?
We're in St. Louis, so we're kind of in the middle of, we're not close to either.
Yeah.
or really
anything to go to either one.
Yeah, but we just kind of make it work. So we usually go to, I'd say probably Disney World more often than Disneyland, but we try to switch it up because we love both for different reasons. So.
Yeah.
So let's dive in deep. What does collaboration look like when you are two designers that are married? So collaboration, because obviously you're working on things together for Pretend Friends, but you also had either separate freelance work or agency work and home work and those type of things. So what does that look like, continuing to learn and then push each other while being two different designers in the same household?
Yeah, I think it's always worked out really well for us, even when we were back in school. We've always kind of helped art direct each other, critique each other. And it's the kind of relationship where we can be completely honest with each other. I feel like more so than a friend, because you kind of feel like you're going to offend a friend. But
Yeah, I mean, we were.
You can't really go anywhere, so I can offend you as much as I want.
You're stuck with each other.
You're kind of stuck. So,
That's some of my lawyer stuff, but I mean, yeah.
So yeah, no, I think we just have always worked really well together, and it's definitely a healthy competition kind of thing with us. Like,
Yeah, we were collaborators before we were even a couple. Like
Yeah.
we were in class together, and we've always just had a natural, like, you were one person who like would give me honest critiques and like would help make my work better, whereas everybody else either just like, yeah, that looks good, or like, I don't have any edits for that. We've always been like super honest with each other, and like I think we both have like a strong desire to like make the best work we possibly can. And so before we were even like working together as pretend friends, we were basically working on everything together anyway.
Yeah.
So we thought we would just make
Yeah.
it official.
Yeah.
So that leads to a question that I was wondering: how have like, what's one very tangible thing that you've changed or that you've altered or tweaked about your work? This question is for each of you. That you've changed or altered about your work directly as a result from feedback you've gotten from the other person. And it might be process, or it might be actually
Style
actual
or-
output.
Deliverable, but
Yeah.
what is one thing we have changed? Sheesh. I mean, I feel like Daniel's definitely the stronger character guy. I typically gravitate more towards like the inanimate object or like background, that sort of thing. So I think that you've helped push my character work, even though as pretend friends, you're typically doing more of the characters and I'm doing the supplementary stuff. But you're always definitely the person I go to ask what needs to be pushed with my character. So I'd say that's probably for me.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's like I usually can get like pretty out there, or I could get ahead of myself with stuff, or kind of like I get real excited about an idea, and then you always like help me like tighten it up or like get back on track and stuff like that. So it's the kind of thing where we both complement each other. But we both have like different strengths, so like
Not
we
literally, we're not complimenting.
No, I mean we constantly insult each
Actually,
other.
really negative.
But
Stylistically, we compliment each other.
yeah, no, we've always like had a different sort of passions and strengths, but we've always like had the same tastes. So it's just we just naturally complement each other. It's just a very fluid, easy process between the both of us.
Sure.
Yeah. So I do want to know, you know, we make fun or poke fun or whatever in jest about it's not always complimenting each other, but what happens when there's conflict? Like what's the resolve when you're working with a client or you're working on something where you have to work together and you just don't see eye to eye? What do you guys do in that scenario? Because that's not uncommon for partnerships, but
Yeah.
when you have the added hurdle of a marriage relationship, that can get a little bit tricky. So how do you guys navigate that?
We're kind of that really annoying couple.
It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Like, and I hate saying that because people are gonna be like, "Oh, right," but like, and it's the kind of thing where if I feel a certain way about something and he feels the opposite way, it's like, okay, convince me why your way is better. So I think it's just, I don't know, we compromise really easily. Like,
We don't argue. We just have conversations.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like, what do you think about this? Well, I think like it would be better if it was like this. Well, I don't think so. So it's a lot of like that back and forth conversation.
and we usually just kind of meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, and we're both like, I think we go into the other person's opinion with like a super open mind, which is very important. It's not really like I'm like, oh, I really gotta like, I want to prove her wrong and show her this works. It's more just like, yeah, that's a good point. I'll try it that way. I didn't like it that way, so I changed it back. And nobody's feelings are hurt because we just, you know, we're just super open-minded, and we're just, like I said, our only interest is to make the best work possible. So if something doesn't work, then move on to the next thing.
Is that something that you think you both learned from working like in the agency setting before, of just how to, you know, say your opinion and fight for it and then just deal with it?
Yeah, and I think school does that too.
Yeah.
You just have to know how to talk about your work, but also not be married to your work. So just, I mean, when we're in a work setting, it's completely not personal at all.
Right.
So it's not like we're holding any grudges about, yours got picked or, I won Master of One podcast contest and you lost.
Yeah, but like you won it because I animated it for you.
Well, okay, there we go. Let's
Perfect
talk about
segue.
that. Because
We may have just captured the very first argument between the Clarks, and it's on footage. We have footage of this. This is
the
incredible.
piece we're talking about is the Snow White cuckoo clock.
Yes.
That's the piece. And honestly, that's probably the first time that, because that was a while ago. That was
like exactly a year ago.
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, it was February of 2017. Okay, cool. So that's probably the first time I was aware of y'all's work. I knew that y'all were in the community. I don't know that I knew that y'all were married or whatever. I think Daniel, you were a little bit more vocal in the Slack community, so I knew that you were there.
Yeah.
And then, but the clock is the first piece where like it all merged all this stuff, and it's a really awesome piece. For those that haven't seen it, it's a cuckoo clock, right? And I don't know how to so I lived a small amount of time in near Amish country in Ohio, and there's this town called Sugar Creek that has like the world's largest cuckoo clock. So whenever I see this piece, I just think of Sugar Creek, Ohio. That's what comes to mind.
That's what I was going for. Good.
But yeah, so you nailed it.
Yeah, she actually referenced exactly that. The giant clock in Sugar Creek, Ohio.
let's do that. But it's a clock, and it has all the characters, and it's animated, so it has like the ticking motion, and then you have characters like like the doors open and they like slide out through the doors and all that kind of stuff. Really, really cool piece. So talk a bit about the process of creating that piece together and what that back and forth was like, and then that final output.
Sure. So that was actually how I got into the Slack community. Daniel had seen the contest pop up, and he said, "Hey, you should do this too." I actually hadn't illustrated it in quite a while, so it was the first piece I had done in a while. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, that'd be really fun. I knew I kind of wanted to do a cuckoo clock, just because they're always interesting to me. So I landed on Snow White, and then after I got to thinking about it, I thought it'd be more fun if it actually moved and there was music and that sort of thing. So I roped Daniel into doing that part of it. Yeah, it was just a really fun piece to work on, and I think it was a good example of our collaboration of what we can both bring to the table. So
yeah, that was one of those, like, we worked together several ways, and that was kind of more typical to where Anna had the idea, she drew everything, and then she's like, hey, I wanted to do this, and then I just was kind of like produced the animation, she directed everything.
Cool.
So sometimes we work like that, sometimes it's a lot more like actually working on something together at the same time. But that was one where it was all you. You just needed me to help make it move, and then I'd show it to you. Yeah, I was a button pusher, but no, then I'd show it to you, and I'd be like, "Oh, this kind of looked better this way," or like something like that. But
so I want to shift to you guys are like 4 or 5 months now working together full time, right? Are you working from your house? Are you guys at home, or do you have a different studio space?
So Daniel still works for an agency.
Okay.
So he has a full-time job. So Pretend Friends is I stay at home with my kids.
Yeah.
So I can answer client emails and that sort of thing during the day, which is nice. So I handle kind of that end of it. And then Daniel's a lot of working at night to catch up with some stuff.
Gotcha. So
yeah.
Okay, so I guess my question, we've kind of gotten into lately on the show a little bit more of just what is life like, trying to live life as a freelancer, and especially Daniel with still a full-time job, and then you're trying to do a business, together. How does that affect home life, or what things have you guys had to like tweak and change so that it feels doesn't feel like just work all the time everywhere?
Sure. So we have 2 children, so they obviously take a lot of my attention. They're 3.5 and 1.5,
Nice.
so they're really crazy.
They're literally the most attention-needing age, except
absolutely.
for like newborn.
Yeah.
Or Luke.
Yeah.
Whatever age Luke is right now.
So they take up a lot of my time during the day. Luckily,
Yeah.
my sister lives 2 doors down, so
Oh, nice.
she'll take my kids about once or twice a week so I can get work done, like put in, not just 10, 15 minutes at a time. I can actually sit down and work for a couple hours at a time.
And
That
actually
helps.
eat lunch and actually like think.
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom by myself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my day to day. I am admittedly terrible at staying up late at night.
Oh yeah.
And I don't work well at night. I work much better in the morning or during the day. So
Okay.
I try to just find some days during the week that I can really sit down and knock some stuff out. Daniel doesn't have that luxury, so he has to work basically from right after the kids go to bed, until 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been freelancing for like probably 5 years now.
Uh-huh.
So it's not just pretend friends. I like have like other freelance stuff I do. But I kind of learned early on to just work every night and do a little bit at a time and just kind of get in that habit to the point to now where if I go to sleep at night and don't work, I feel super anxious the next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of thing where I just set up a rule for myself. Like when the kids are up, when the family's up, I'm with them. We're doing family stuff. I'm not working. I'm not doing anything like that. So that pretty much just leaves like if I wake up early or stay up late at night, which sounds terrible, but I really like what I do, so I don't mind so much.
Yeah, there's something
if I
about
didn't like what
getting
I did,
into a
but-
routine that makes it
Yeah.
easier. Sure.
Yeah.
I want to know about what. So you look at what you guys do, what you guys produce, and there's just a part of me. So if you're not familiar with Anna or Daniel's work, we've kind of vaguely described it, but I'm going to give a little bit better of a description right now because I have a question about it. It's very it's very cute in nature. The characters always have this. Always seem to be happy about life, right? You rarely see anything that's dark or grimy or dingy. Everything is bright, everything is fun, everything is happy. You use simple color palettes to communicate a whole world of interesting layout and texture and all that stuff. So my question for you guys is with we are pretend friends with Anna as an individual designer and Daniel as an individual designer. Where does Anna leave off and Daniel pick up? Other than the fact that Daniel does more of like the character design stuff, your work has seemingly, if you look at both of them individually, they have a very, very similar cohesion. And where does that come from? Have you guys just been working long enough together and it's like one of those you start to become like the person you're around the most, or did you just individually naturally already have a similar aesthetic?
Kind of both.
I think that's what kind of drew us together was we had similar taste and style and inspiration. So we always kind of drew similarly. I mean, I think for us, looking at our work, I feel like they're very dissimilar and I can really tell who's drawing each one, but I know that's because we're the ones drawing it. So I'm glad that to other people it seems pretty seamless because that's kind of some of the kinks that we're trying to work out as we're kind of blending our stuff together now, is making it not so much as like, I definitely made one piece or Daniel definitely made one piece and kind of making it seem like a brand versus individual pieces. But yeah, I think we always just kind of, and I think
we've evolved over time too. Like I was originally a lot more cartoony with my style. Like if I was going to sign decades to us, I was a lot more like 1930s. You were a lot more 1950s. But then as so I originally started out as like a drawing major. And then as I got into design and after like meeting Anna and getting more into like mid-century and stuff like that, I think after working with each other, our style kind of evolved into like those two sort of like inspirational, like cartoon with mid-century and fun. And like, we both always liked bright colors. So I think over time it's evolved, but it was always pretty similar.
Yeah. And I mean, you've always used a brighter color palette, I feel like, and mine's been more muted. So I feel like, as we're developing our style as one unit, we're kind of meeting in the middle, which is nice. I think we're finding like a good balance between the two styles. So
And you mean that even within like the same project? You don't mean that from project to project. You're just saying within the same project.
Right.
So I'm very on the idea of what is essentially agency life. I mean, I understand that it's freelance, but you're working together. What are and Daniel, you're obviously still working for an agency. What are kind of your like pet peeves right now, or what are the kind of commonly held beliefs within the way you operate as an agency, or within the way you operate as a freelancer with a customer that are just that you're kind of like pushing away right now as like, hey, this shouldn't be a norm? Is there anything like that stands out to you in the way that y'all do business versus maybe the way a typical digital agency would do business?
I mean, like, so in terms of stuff that we've worked on, we've been super fortunate. We've had like really good clients. I mean, I know like so I work in advertising during the day, and that's like a whole different thing with a whole different kind of culture and like demands and stuff like that. So within that, I mean, you get all sorts of people. You get the bossy person, you'll get the completely removed from a project person. It's kind of just, you never really know what you're going to get. But for like stuff that we've worked on, like we just did a big hospital project, and we worked like with an agency that hired us called Martin Group, and they were fantastic. And the person we worked with, she was super awesome and really nice and really helpful. I feel like the only people I've ever gotten that were kind of like bad clients were either people I was doing stuff for free for, or that like I knew. Like those are always like the worst clients. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we're super adaptable. But I've said super about 10 times, but we've been very fortunate so far.
No, that's awesome that you've been able to, at least up to this point, kind of not necessarily be protected, but not have to maybe deal with some of the more typical day-to-day that you would get in like your agency life.
So you've somehow managed to subvert major conflict with your clients, and somehow managed to subvert major conflict with your partner. I'm not 100% real that you guys are real people. Like there's a chance that this is complete
fabrication.
Fabrication. I'm not 100% sure that's true.
It's just you'll work on stuff where like you're not exactly excited about what you're making.
Sure.
But the people are super happy with it, so it's like that's okay.
Yeah.
Or you just kind of roll with the punches. It's just pretty agreeable.
Yeah.
I think your personality might have a lot to do with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the kind of thing too where like if somebody doesn't like something, I don't get offended. I'll just be like, why? And then they'll give me a reason. I'll be like, okay, that makes sense. And then I'll like take their feedback, and I'll either do exactly what they ask, or I'll say like, I understand what you're saying, but what if we did this to make it better instead of whatever you were trying to like. I just think it's just being able to be an adult and be nice and have manners is super important.
So
when you're working with strangers.
Yeah, let me ask one thing real quick before we transition to final questions. But where does Pretend Friends come from?
The name?
Yes.
So
I mean, it comes from both of you. I have that piece of it, but the name of it.
We made it up. No. So when we decided to, start this thing, we're like, well, I guess we need a name. So we just kind of wanted something that was somewhat ambiguous that could, that didn't like nail us into one specific pocket of illustration or design or anything like that. So we like the idea of, so it doesn't mean like we're not real friends. I know a lot of people think that that's what it means. It's more pretend as in
it's a play on an imaginary friend.
Right.
Yeah. Like we wanted to have something that was a lot about like imagination and being happy and basically everything that you would use to describe our work. But imaginary is used for everything. Yeah. So we were trying to think of something besides imaginary friend. That's kind of where we landed.
And side note, our children love Peppa Pig, and one of the characters says in one episode, "It's better than real, it's pretend." and we just really like that sentiment. So
Yeah, I feel like that kind of just sums the whole thing up.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, that's actually a great transition into my final question. So we'll shift to final questions, and to be cognizant of your time and make this bite-sized for everybody. Your kids. So you mentioned them a couple times. You just mentioned them. You guys, sounds like you eat, sleep, and breathe design and illustration. But you also mentioned, Daniel, that there's time that you just take away for family, and you set that side of time. That time aside intentionally. That's a hard sentence to say. But then you guys are so immersed in this culture, in this design culture, in this illustration culture. Does that rub off on your kids? Like, what are you teaching your kids? Do you guys have design time as a family, or do you kind of segregate the two things intentionally so that work is work and family time is family time?
Yeah, I mean, our kids are constantly drawing on the iPad Pro, so so they definitely have seen us on there.
Yeah. I feel like with our kids, it's kind of the same reason we took so long to work with each other is like directly is like we just want them to like be their own person.
Yeah.
Or just like we wanted to like each other to be their own artists. So it's kind of thing where it's like our son Pete, he loves the color and like that's super exciting. And I really want them to like love art and stuff. But I mean, we don't have specific sit down time, especially like with our kids. It's very much just like, we're doing this, now we're doing this, now we're doing this. We never know. But
Sure.
we've drawn on the sidewalk a lot with chalk. We show them like stuff that we work on and they'll ask us about it.
Yeah, it's just I can't really be on a computer without them wanting to. It's like
Yeah.
I can't work when they're around
Yeah.
because they just
Right.
want to sit and watch like weird YouTube videos. But
So that you're not cloaking what you do, you're not hiding
Yeah.
what you do from
Right.
them, but you're also not teaching them business practices and saying, "Here's how
Right.
one day you'll take over the family business.
They're also
So you gotta
learning
know
how
how
to
to
draw
draw
a hat."
smiley faces on sons." Like you're not. That's
This
not
is
the
a nat
conversation.
30. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it's the kind of thing where you just share your passions with your kids anyway. So like, they're really into Disney because we're really into Disney.
Sure.
Like we watch TV, read books, and do all that stuff together. And we're not going to watch TV and read books that we don't like to. So
Right.
they kind of just get into the stuff
Yeah.
that you're into.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it.
So, two Disney lovers, and you illustrate some Disney properties. What is an underserved Disney property? Like, what is
Oh boy, you're
some part
just-
of the Disney universe that needs more love from illustrators and designers?
You're opening just a whole can of worms with me.
Okay.
You're gonna say Princess and the Frog?
The Princess and the Frog is the most underrated movie just of like ever.
It's a great villain.
Like so many people don't even know what that movie is.
Sure.
And B, it's just so beautiful, and you never really see any artwork for it anywhere. There's not really up at Disney World anywhere.
The music is great.
The music is so good. It's such a just a fantastic movie,
Yeah.
and it's just tragically
Overlooked.
downplayed. Yeah.
I'm trying to see if you've done any artwork for it, and I'm not seeing any in your thread. So, like,
I have. I did. I drew Lewis the Gator in the omnibus drawing. I did.
Ah, nice. Nice.
So I win.
okay.
You did.
So is that both of you? Is that from both of you? Is that what you both think is the one, or do you each have
Yeah,
one?
probably.
Okay.
Hey, what about the
there's
Country
a
Bear
lot more, like-
Jamboree? I would love to see you guys do a Country Bear Jamboree in your style, and I would buy a print for Patrick.
I would absolutely let him buy a print for me.
It's gonna happen now. You just
Yeah.
started
See, that's the
something.
thing. If you put stuff into the universe, you never know what may happen.
Listen,
That's the lesson. That's what this whole thing has been about.
Here's the
It's
thing.
always
Mackenzie
been
and I-
about.
But if
We
you
were
keep putting
just
stuff in
at
the
Disney
universe,
World.
there's still then you put it out there. It's not. It doesn't stay hidden in your head.
The first place I took Mackenzie when we went to Disney World, we went to Country Bear
Country Bear
Jamboree.
Jamboree.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
essentially like they took a bear animatronic version of Patrick's family reunion.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I can place them all with people in my family. Like,
Oh, that's Uncle Buck.
also a great
Nice.
movie.
Oh, that's good. Okay, well, I'll round out the finals then. So if you guys, for each of you, we've said this multiple times, art and design is your life. If that wasn't the case, what would each of you be doing instead?
Oh, so I just answered. You answered this question for me. We played the Newlywed Game on Squared Co. and this question came up. And it was very hard to answer.
So I can't be in the creative field at all?
You can. That's fine.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Not at all. Okay.
No, this is my question.
It's Luke's question.
It's my
He's not
question.
going to let me alter his question.
Yeah, you can whatever you want.
I'd probably be a teacher, I'd say.
Yeah.
We've both taught in the past.
Okay. The same class at different times.
Same class at different times. And funny enough, it's the class that we actually met in. We taught later. So, so last semester I taught in the classroom that I was proposed to in. But,
nice.
Yeah, I'd probably be a teacher. I don't know if that'd be like.
Well, wait, is it art teacher?
Probably.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Hey, Luke, you had the opportunity to narrow the question.
You could have clamped it down and you didn't, so that's on you.
That's fine.
If I had to work in another creative field outside of illustration and design, it would probably be animating or working in movies or something somehow is something that I've kind of always dreamed of. If it was a non-creative field, I feel like I'd also be a teacher too. Maybe like kindergarten, first grade.
Nice.
Worked with kids and I loved it. So
you guys
fifth graders were the worst though.
For each other.
Yeah, I think you guys are just the best.
Yeah.
Which one of you would be the primary teacher and which one would be like the teacher's assistant if you are in the same classroom?
Oh, I'm definitely the assistant.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
Yeah. Patrick, how that was an obvious question.
Yeah. We have
Look
a
at how
very
they're
strong
sitting
matrix.
even in the room.
She's like elbowing him back like the whole time.
This is
When we go to
her
restaurants,
podcast
I order.
that he's
Yeah.
allowed to be a part of.
No, but I do think that that's another like key to like our success in working together is that like
I'm the boss.
you're the boss. But I'm not afraid to like give up the power to you.
Yeah.
Or
no, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's healthy. That's knowing your role and knowing how you guys work well together. For as much as we joke about it, that's amazing. I mean, I've had the three of us argue. Almost. It's amazing that we're able to get 25 minutes of audio without us arguing. Like that's crazy to me. So I can only imagine.
I make a list in the background of all the things that have upset me during the episode. And
You said this
then when
was
it's
wrong.
done, I just
Yeah. But no, it's
we
definitely the kind of thing where like you keep the business on track and I keep the work schedule kind of on track. It's kind of how it's just turned out to be.
That's cool.
I think that's awesome. So tell everybody where they can find you guys, where they can follow you, both individually and as a duo, and how they can support what you're doing. Maybe it's something that you're involved in. I know you guys just did the Cute Couples show. If there's anything new coming up, let us know where we can find you and support you.
Sure. So we are on Instagram, that sort of thing, as We Are Pretend Friends. And then me individually, I'm at G Banks, G-E-E Banks.
And then I am Daniel Clark. And then our website is wearepretendfriends.com.
And so we have some prints for sale right now for the Cute Couples show on squaredco.org.
Nice.
We have 3 different pieces in that, and those are individual. So
Yeah.
we worked on those separately. But for right now, that's about it.
Is there ever a hope or a desire even to one day be doing your work for Wonderground? To be like featured with Underground? Okay. Or with Wonderground?
Yeah, that's definitely always been
on the list of goals. We definitely try to set, short-term goals and then long-term goals. And that's always been on the list. So hopefully.
It's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, the more I go there, the more and more I think I just am waiting for the day that I walk in there and see one of the big banners and it's you guys. And I'm like, well, they're going to be too good to talk to us now.
Jared.
So that's awesome.
Jared,
so
we're
before
working
we
on
head,
it.
Good. So before we head out of here, will you guys help us draw tokens so we know what we're talking about next week?
Oh, yeah.
Rock and roll. All right, well, that's it for the interview portion. Up next, we're going to draw some tokens. The tokens every week is when we get to find out exactly what our categories are going to be for the following week, and then we pick our topics based on those categories. The tokens are real. They're in my hand. We have guests, and so they are going to do the honors of choosing them. I have them face down. I'm shuffling them around like a street carny.
It's been so long, guys.
Can you say
please.
carny?
It's been so long.
Can you say? I don't know. I'm not gonna say it.
All right. I have them. Give me a number between 1 and 3, and you'll be picking for Patrick.
2. Number 2.
I was at 1.
Art and design, Patrick.
Yeah. Eat it.
Okay, you'll pick now 1 or 2, and you'll be picking for Luke.
1.
TV and film.
TV and film.
It's ridiculous.
Air punch.
We're like,
That means
I feel
that
like
I
we're
get
3
toys
months
and
deep with
games.
this now.
This is at least a couple weeks in a row for sure.
We're doing it. We're doing things. Stuff is
We're
happening.
doing it right. So thank you so much for coming on. You guys are a blast. I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface. You have a lot to offer the creative field in terms of positivity and knowing how to work with each other and just
Cool
figuring
stuff.
out this whole team dynamic. There's a lot to be learned from you guys. So hit them up on the Slack channel. Join the Slack channel if you're not already a part of that community. Go to mf1podcast.com/Slack to be a part of this ever increasing, ever talented community of super, super fun people like Daniel and Anna. And while you're on our website, go and search all the other incredible artists and people who we've had on the show in our archive. You can also, if you're watching this on YouTube, watch all the links and things, or click on all the links right below here. Share this video, like this video, subscribe to our channel. It's YouTube. You know how to do YouTube. You're smart.
This cracks me up when you point down. There's nothing there.
There is if you're on YouTube. It's never there. like
Subscribe,
Check this out.
subscribe this.
Listen, guys, that's not how I do it. That's not how I do it. Gosh, I don't even remember where I was at. Did I say anything about YouTube yet?
YouTube.
Okay.
It's down below.
We're on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and Spotify and iHeartRadio.
Maybe.
And I think by this point we should be on iHeartRadio, but
Let's
we
see
haven't.
Theoretically.
We haven't confirmed it yet because we record this a week in advance.
Anything's possible.
So, but we should be there. Just go search it. While you're searching stuff, search M of1 Podcast on all the social platforms. Connect with us. Talk to us. If you want to support the show financially, go to patreon.com/ you guessed it, M of1 Podcast. And you can throw a couple dollars in there to support what we're doing. We can continue to do whatever this is, and hopefully so much more. Luke has given up. Luke isn't even looking at the camera anymore. It's derailing.
I'm here.
You guys are such a blast. Thank you for coming on. But we're gonna get off of this episode for now. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Luke.
I'm Andrew.
I mean,
Peace out.
I thought she was going to say Andrew.
Hold on to your butt.
hooray!
Hold on to my butt.